Hello and welcome back to Genshin Impact. Today we're going to be doing the new Archon quest. Update 3.3 just dropped. Not sure what the name of it is, but I accidentally teleported somewhere that started up the quest. And so, as soon as I actually log in, the cutscene's going to begin and we'll start the Archon quest.
Come on, serious suggestions, please. I'm not trying to write a thriller here. It's supposed to be an essay, you understand? An essay. That means facts and logic.
Well, if it's facts and logic you're after, you shot yourself in the foot with your choice of research topic, didn't you? The Tatara-Suna mystery. When so much remains unexplained, there's little to be objective about. Unless, of course, you restrict yourself to textual criticism.
Yeah, well, this is my teacher's area of research. I can't change that. But it's fascinating enough without having to sensationalize it, don't you think? The strange location, the missing details, a mysterious person. I want to write my essay on something interesting, and I'm interested in getting to the bottom of all this. That's the only reason I came to you.
Yes, you came to me, so all the more reason to take my advice. The fact is, it's the dramatization that will make people want to read it. There's no getting around that.
Okay, but...
Did one of them just mention Tatara-Suna? But that's all the way in Inazuma! Is it just Paimon, or is it kinda unusual for someone in Sumeru to want to write a paper about that? Everyone here's just going about their business. Maybe it really is just Paimon. Guess people here are free to research pretty much anything.
Yeah, still, let's go listen in.
Great! Let's go find out what this Tatara-Suna mystery is all about.
Inversion of Genesis.
Alright, I guess I'll go with my textual criticism and your editorial direction for the first draft. I have a feeling that the missing Kabuki Mono will end up being the main focus of this paper. Ugh, if only we knew where to find that traveler. From what they say about him, this seems like the kind of thing he'd know about.
It says her, and then he'd. If you're looking for the traveler, that's me. Looking for me?
Oh, you're the traveler, you say?
Hey, what's with that face? Don't believe us?
If you don't believe me, I'll go.
No, of course I believe you. Actually, I first heard about your great exploits when I was still in Inazuma. This is my first time coming face to face with you and your mysterious silver-haired companion. I couldn't believe my luck, and out of force of habit, I started, examining the evidence. Sorry.
Oh, Sawada, for the love of... Sorry, we don't get out much, so our social skills are kinda lacking. Traveler, I hear you've helped many people a great deal and been to many places. Would you be able to tell us about Tatara-Suna?
Actually, we don't know much about that place either. In fact, we only came over here because we heard you talking about it and wanted to learn more.
I see.
Sorry, I can't help this time.
My teacher chose this area of research as a personal challenge. He said it's difficult to get into because even Inazumans don't know much about Tatara-Suna's past. But who'd have thought that...
If you don't mind, I'd love to show you all my outline for the book I'm writing about Tatara-Suna.
Hold on, Sawada. Don't you think that's a bit of a deep dive or a first read?
Well, fair point. In that case, please ease yourselves in gently by taking a look at Akaba's latest essay draft.
Let me give you some background. This all started with the discovery of some records in Tatara-Suna. The writings mentioned someone by the name of Mikoshi Nagamasa, who crafted a fine blade. But in the end, he threw it into a fire to destroy it, and killed his servant Katsuragi. Why? Well, no one knows. Apart from the swordmaker, his servant, and the one who wrote this all down, the records also mention a kabuki mono. This seems to be an Inazuman word for an eccentric stranger, someone who dresses funny or acts in an unusual way.
That's right. Akaba's teacher has spent quite some time researching these events on the ground. This Kabukimono lived in Tatarasuna for a while before disappearing without a trace. And shortly afterwards, as Akaba mentioned, things got pretty ugly.
So first this strange person goes missing, then a murder happens? Seems kinda fishy to Paimon.
Yes, my thoughts exactly. So I helped out too. I asked everyone I could think of if they knew anything about what happened back then. And wow! Did I get lucky!
Stop shouting!
This part's important. I just wanted to make it stand out. It just so happens that a friend of mine works at the Government Records Office. He looked into it for me, and I can now confirm that all the aforementioned individuals did, in fact, live in Inazuma over 400 years ago. Even back then, Tatarasuna was already at the center of Inazuma's smelting industry. The man in charge was a government official named Niwa. Curiously enough, it seems like he went missing too.
Could it be? Yeah, this is reminding me
So
of,
there are 2 missing people in this story now?
reminds me of the Kazuha story.
That's right! What's more, Niwa is a name with a lot of history to it. Have you ever heard of the great swordsmith clans of Inazuma?
Oh, the swordsmiths? Yeah, like Ishin art and so on?
Wow, yes. You really know your stuff. That makes things easier. So basically, this Niwa was a distant relative of the Kaidahara clan, the last practitioners of Ishin art. Something then seems to have happened in the Kaidahara clan, leading to their downfall. I don't know the details, but taken in light of everything else going on around that time, it makes you wonder whether it's all connected somehow.
The Kaidahara clan?
Sawada, you left out the biggest detail of all.
There's more?
Oh, yes, of course. How could I forget? Brace your minds, ladies and gents, for they are about to be blown. Or maybe you won't believe your ears. I wouldn't blame you, of course, because in all my years as a writer, this is by far the most.
Get to the point, for Pete's sake.
According to information acquired by Akaba's teacher, the Kabukimono was not a human, but a puppet.
Balladeer.
A puppet?
The Shogun puppet that the Electro Archon made should be ruling Inazuma with her as we speak. It couldn't be her. The Kabuki Mono has to be the Balladeer. But what was he doing 400 years ago in Tatarasuna?
Aha! Judging by the looks on your faces, you do know something after all.
Glare
at Paimon and hope she keeps her mouth shut.
No! Paimon just meant, how creepy. The way you described it makes it sound like a ghost story.
I agree, it does. But considering that non-human races in Inazuma are by no means uncommon, spooky events are to be expected. And that's exactly what my book is about. Please, take a look.
Oh, wow. Alright. Author Sawada. Extract 1. A man arrived in Tatarasuna around 3 in the afternoon. From afar, he spied laborers walking along the mountain roads towards the factories, their shoes scuffing along the jutting stones. They walked like people convinced that so long as they reached the fire raging in the mountain's belly, they might extract from its gems beyond price. The mood that the sight inspired was ineffable beyond mere description for those not present to witness it. The man barked a cheerful greeting and sprinted to join the procession. There, a towering character who stood half a head taller greeted him with a heavy slap on the back, and yet his words were filled with respect. Do my eyes deceive me? Sir Miyazaki, I cannot think that the return trip here from Inazuma City could have been easy on you. Miyazaki smiled like a young man taking the first step on their journey, expression relaxed. Why, Katsuragi, Inazuma is the realm of the almighty Shogun. I sailed upon the fastest ship, strode upon the swiftest sea routes. What dangers could I have possibly faced? And what about the good news? There was some, naturally. The two burst into uproarious laughter, roughhousing with the other workers until the pass ended. A young man dressed in a linen shirt and wearing a headscarf gazed into the dancing flames of the furnace before him. Now, the flames of a forge are unlike any other, for their intensity affects the resulting integrity of both metal and blade. So too, then, was the flame watcher an unusual individual. At his fingertips sat a lizard, and on his face he wore a smile. The workshop was huge, and the furnace was deeper within. A reasonable person might think that there should have been many working alongside the Watcher, yet he stood alone. Only when Katsuragi and Miyazaki strode into the room did the Watcher turn. This Watcher was Niwa, armory officer and administrator of the Tatarasuna. Born to the Niwa clan, which served as one of the three pillars of the Ishin art. Niwa never argued with his siblings and was a worthy successor by all accounts. The post he received as a result of his high standing with those in power served as a statement unto itself. Miyazaki handed a well-bundled text to Niwa. As he adjusted his expression, it said, "It is as you said, sir. The elders of your clan in the city do not think highly of our plan, yet I still believe it to be worth a try. As such, I have found the proper vendors and procured the materials that you requested." Niwa studied the text and nodded. "We should try some of these new forging techniques, whether Kaitahara says yea or nay." Katsuragi frowned, and with a sigh he said, "Forging is a precise and difficult undertaking. You know this better than most, sirs. And still, you seek improvement each day with terrifying drive. Should my Lord Nagamasa hear this, the sourness in his face shall be hard to miss." Niwa smiled, replying, "And how goes the forging of your lord's great blade, Katsuragi?" Katsuragi neither wanted to shame his master nor lie to his two friends, and yet he could not think of any way to deflect, and so he growled, "I see your ears are as keen as your hands, Sir Niwa. The jokes of us unlearned men are as nothing before you." Miyazaki hid his grin. Upon hearing this, Niwa released the lizard from his hand into Katsuragi's palm. But just as more words were to be exchanged, someone came walking nearby. Their footsteps, light with the celerity of youth. The head that peeked in was round, and in the light of the fires, looked like an oiled jewel. The young man placed some boxed food at the side, and nodding, he prepared to leave. Katsuragi called out after him, "What about your share? Aren't you going to eat it?" Young man, upon hearing those words, found himself slightly at a loss. After a while he answered, "Very well, I'll try it. You are welcome to the food. We all eat the same fare after all," Niwa said. The man nodded and left, seemingly deep in thought. Extract 2. The Kabukimono was by the coast. Sunset fell to the accompaniment of darkness. The bands of twilight showed themselves not, for in their place did thunderclouds roil, grumbling the omens of a coming rainstorm. Darkness filled the flesh of the sea, and the dusk bade the clouds to kneel upon the land. Its supplication mirroring the Kabukimono, with knees bent and face pointed towards the water. None passed that way, and none knew what he was waiting for in silence. Time passed, unmeasured and uncounted, till a black cloud suddenly tore free from the sky and began to circle the Kabukimono, bearing down on him like a nightmare. Though he was not aware at first, after his studying gaze was refined by time, he understood. This cloud had marked him from the very start. Outbound, a fishing boat drew near. the lights of its bow flickering in and out of sight beneath falling sheets of rain. A mist unspooled across the area, stilling sight from the fisherman. Repeatedly, he exclaimed, "It is but dusk. How are my eyes darkened? Is there anyone that could deliver my boat upon safe tides?" Like a falling spear, the black cloud reached the bottom of the boat, and was joined in its bereftness of direction. Like a charging beast, they plunged into the shoreline. Scant steps away, the Kabukimono stood idle, slanting his head to study the grand wreck. Not but half an arm was left of the one who had cried out for help, and with a plop, it landed at the Kabukimono's feet. He crouched to better study the object, straining against the urge to take a bite out of it. Yet he did not, for the dark cloud swirling down had already picked the remnants of the ship clean. The Kabukimono stared at it blankly, like an awakening dreamer. When he returned to himself, the clouds had scattered as if they had never been there at all. As for the ship, could it have been struck down by a storm? Who was to know? Not the Kabukimono. Extracts 3. Katsuragi rushed to the doorway and shouted, "My lord, things go ill at the furnace. I have searched for Sir Niwa, but there is no trace of him, and much time has passed since Sir Miyazaki left to seek aid, but he has yet to send us any missive. Look." Mikoshi Nagamasa turned slowly, his face grave as one attending a funeral. He spoke then, his words heavy-laden. "I wish not to say such words, Katsuragi, but Sir Miyazaki may never return." Katsuragi peered past Nagasama's broad, stiff shoulders, beyond the windows. Clouds above boiled in waves of black, as if darkness now was the only weather, and might even morph into an abyssal beast and devour Tatarasuna whole. Over 10 people already perished. That was why Katsuragi recoiled, as if struck. Yes, it was coming back to him now, in dribs and drabs. That was why they had set out to seek aid. Miyazaki had been the first to set sail. The clouds had only just begun to form then. Traveling from Tatarasuna to Inazuma to ask for support was normally no great feat, and yet there had been no sign of his return. Then a second ship was sent, followed by a third and a fourth, till the Kabukimono himself had departed upon the tides. Under foul skies and ominous fortunes, it had been Katsuragi who had brought him back and treated him as his own. And it pained him greatly to see the lad go. Yet the situation in Tatarasuna was severe. Even should they sacrifice more lives, it would have been worth it to gain assistance from Inazuma City. Niwa was gone, and none could find him. Afterward, Nagamasa led a search party into the mountains and the area around the furnace, all to no avail. Folk began to wonder if Niwa might have encountered an accident, but worry soon turned to suspicion, and they wondered if he had fled, unwilling to bear the sin of having caused these incidents. The people grew ever more suspicious, and Nagamasa himself strained against his discontent and fury. His face had grown to resemble the rumbling clouds above. Suddenly, a figure flashed by. Their presence did not go unnoticed by Nagamasa. He drew his blade and cut, though he only nicked the silken veil the intruder wore. For a moment they swayed, and then, like a marionette pulled by strings, they moved behind Nagamasa, laughing darkly. "Are you seeking someone, my lord? Niwa, perhaps?" Nagamasa bellowed in fury. "You dare address Sir Niwa directly?" Yet the figure parted like mist before his falling blade, only to rematerialize behind reach, but not beyond sight. A ghastly apparition indeed. "Was it you who slew my people?" Nagamasa howled in charge, held back only by Katsuragi's desperate grip. As his senses returned to him, he realized he was but an inch away from falling into the furnace. Seems that the rest of this work remains unfinished. From the existing text, however, it is apparent that this is a novel of fantastical, colorful sensibilities born from an imagination well utilized. The Isle of Dark Clouds, huh? I mean, it's not a bad start. I mean, the whole story is pretty much here. He just needs one more extract, I think. Maybe two.
Oh, And please read my essay draft as well.
Ah. Okay, let me drink something first. A brief analysis of possible events of historical importance in the Tatarasuna area. Details. This text belongs to a series of works sponsored by Vahumana's Veil Cutter Project. It is yet to be numbered. Author, Aquaba. Abstract. The Tatarasana area has always been a major pillar of Inazuma's smithing industry. 2 incidents have occurred here, and the details beyond the first are vague at best. I believe, however, there might be a hidden history behind the events that transpired. Hence, this paper will attempt to analyze what may have unfolded from the available data. Glossary. Tatarasuna area. Riding Gokuden. Mikoshi Nagamasa. Kabuki Mono. Introduction. This paper continues and expands the work of my mentor, Mr. Rumi, in his report on the happily hidden tales of Tatarasana. And it is indeed to further this avenue of research. According to the data, the blade forging technique of Inazuma were originally handed down from the Electro Archon, also known as the Raiden Shogun. Using the arts they inherited from their Archon, the people of Inazuma devoted themselves to the process of forging. However, strange rumors that do not quite fit the steely nature of metalwork yet linger about Tatarasuna, which was central pillar of the forging industry. There, the Mikosha and Niwa clans, along with an eccentric puppet, serve as the 3 windows of insight we need to investigate the truth behind what happened. Body. Strange notes from the Tatarasuna area. Their contents are as follow. 1. Perhaps I overstep, but I think that Sir Nagamasa's mood grows better when he forges blades. The obsession to cleanse the stain of the name Mikoshi must eat at him. Also, Sir Katsuragi discovered a nameless eccentric while patrolling around Nazuchi Beach. 2. The inspector bought a certain number of jade steel ingots. Sir Katsuragi discussed matters of smithing deep into the night with a vice armory officer. 3. We at last made a single nagamaki. We call it the Daitaraya Nagamasa. The inspector was in high spirits, and he and the vice armory officer Nozomu was so taken by the beauty of the Daitatara Nagamasa that he drew a picture of it, and he performed a sword dance with that wandering eccentric. 4. We could not find that eccentric. The inspector flew into a rage and slashed Katsuragi. The great blade cut deep into the flesh, cast his own nagamaki into the furnace's flame. Nozomu could not abide by that order, and drew the completely melted weapon out of the furnace. He was horribly burned. Nozomu died that night. I dare say that while Sir Katsuragi may have committed malfeasance, it was out of the goodness of his heart. 6. Kinjiro hid the Nagamaki and Nozomu drawings in the arsenal. Nagamasa is harsh, but also knows right from wrong. But even so, he is not amenable to reason. His name indicates one obsessed with purity. Still, I, and some households of Tatarasuna, have not been blinded by the matter of Nagamasa's mother, Chiyo, and we trust him. I also remain unwilling to forget the joy of creating the Daitaraya Nagamasa with him, and the joy of watching that nameless eccentric perform that sword dance with Katsuragi. 7. Before we withdrew, we have divided the arsenal key into 3 parts. 1 for the inspector, 1 for the armory officer, and 1 to be left in Tatarasuna itself to prevent theft. But we were in too much of a hurry, and neither the inspector nor the armory officer could be found. So I also bowed as to hide the 3 pieces within treasure chests in Tatarasuna. The 7 notes mentioned prior have been scattered across the Tatarasuna area. Among the 7 notes, 6 seem to be of good physical integrity, though they all look quite old, while the last one looks more recent. believed that the first 6 notes and the last are of different time periods, though the gulf in years between them needs to be verified. The contents of the first 6 should also be related to each other, and the incidents mentioned are quite consistent with one another. Rumi once mentioned in Happily Hidden Tales of Tatarasuna, hereafter known as Hidden Tales, that in the past researchers from Sumeru had investigated the cultural histories of Tatarasuna and Inazuma. Though the place has fallen into some degree of disrepair since the Hidden Tales were written, things have improved since the time when I wrote my original article. Regardless, what used to be an area of major industry remains a place most inhospitable, and residents of Tatarasuna may be found living and dwelling by the waters. The residents, when questioned, told the researchers of Tatarasuna's golden age centuries ago, when it was administered by Armory Officer Niwa, Vice Armory Officer Miyazaka, and Inspector Mikoshi Nagamasa. Yet the elders among the locals, with deeper ties to the region, also seemed to stress the fact that there were strange rumors surrounding their homeland's past. A great many of these rumors revolved around the yokai, who are also so very characteristic of Inazuma's folk history. A small portion, however, repeatedly mentioned the word puppet. It should be known that puppets are neither traditional nor common yokai in Inazuma. This fact drew the attention of the researchers to delve further, and eventually the following pieces of information came to light. A puppet did once appear in Tatarasuna. Its visage was elegant, its apparel impeccable, and the way it dressed hid all the joint lines on its body. If no one were to mention that it was indeed a puppet, it would be hard to tell at all. Additionally, this puppet seemed to possess special joint lines that would fade with time, potentially even disappearing altogether, which would perhaps eventually make the puppet seem entirely human. The name of the puppet was known to almost none. Some folk claimed to have spotted it appearing around Tatarasuna, while others mentioned encountering it in central regions of the area. Some even claimed that it would frequent the beach. Tales spread of it standing beside the sea and gazing across the waters towards Inazuma City. What it was that the puppet was gazing at remains a mystery. As mentioned earlier, the 6 notes all document a certain nameless eccentric. The eccentric, which can also be read as kabukimono, is usually used in Inazuma to refer to a figure who dresses or behaves in a peculiar manner. It is understandable, therefore, why this character would have left such an impression. Should the people of Tatarasuna indeed have had a puppet in their midst incurring mass panic, good possibility considering that the coexistence between yokai and humans in Inazuma at large, then the puppet would have very likely become a local resident. What is less well known is if the kabukimono was just another title for this puppet, perhaps because it was uniquely dressed to distract attention from its more special characteristics. Workable theory, but one that still lacks enough evidence to support it. Still, can be retained as an analytical lens of sorts. A list of the individuals related to Tatarasuna has been compiled here, based on historical documents from Inazuma. Starting from the administrators, the records are as follows. Armory Officer Niwa. Full name Niwa Hisadahide. He was the inheritor of the Ishin art, and successor to the Niwa clan. His family, along with the Kami and Kaidahara clans, were together known as the Ishin Sansaku. Records show that Niwa was a modest and intelligent individual who displayed remarkable talent in the administration of territorial and people. His eventual whereabouts are unknown, but he was suspected to have left Tatarasuna with his family following the incident. Vice Armory Officer Miyazaka. Full name Miyazaka Kunio. He was Niwa's second in command. His origins are unknown, and he primarily assisted Niwa in forging and personal management. He was of affable temperament and had many friends in the region, including one Mikosha Nagamasa. Inspector Mikosha Nagamasa, the successor of the Mikosha clan, adopted son to Oni warrior Mikoshi Chiyo, and the younger adopted brother to Mikoshi Michichiro, also known as Iwakura the Successor. With his mother missing and abandoned by his brother, Nagamasa alone bore the family name, striving daily to wipe the shame from their history. Though records state that Mikoshi Nagamasa was a stubborn figure, he was also noted to be a person of moral virtue and integrity. It has been noted in various records that he practiced forging swords for self-cultivation and specially requested special instruction from Miyazaki to further his capabilities. However, after the famous blade, Daitara Nagamasa, was forged, he used it to slay his subordinate, Katsuragi, for reasons unknown at present. Subordinate, Katsuragi. Katsuragi's full name and background remain unknown. Despite all the materials I have sorted through, I have yet to find any more additional personal information regarding him. As one of the Mikoshi Nagamasa's subordinates, he was a loyal warrior who had been saved by Nagamasa in his youth. From then on, he swore to stick by his lords through thick and thin, and to give his life in service if it was asked of him. Kabuki Mono, full name unknown, background unknown. From the many sources I have compiled, combined with Rumi's personal observations, this character might have been the puppet mentioned in the rumors. The Kabuki Mono was a figure of fashionable grace and gentleness. According to the hidden tales, he was brought back to Tadarasuna by Katsuragi and became a member of the community. When the Kabuki Mono first arrived in Tadarasuna, he knew nothing of cleaning, cooking, or any work of meticulous nature. The locals taught him their skills over time, showing him how to clean his attire, dance, and craft small trinkets. Records state that the Kabuki Mono was there when the Daitarana Nagamasa was forged, though his trail ends before Mikoshi Nagamasa slew Katsuragi. I believe that the Kabuki Mono was indeed the aforementioned puppet, and that he quite likely had a hand in Katsuragi's death. It seems that the rest of this paper remains unfinished. One thing is for sure though, a lot of thought was put into it. Wow.
Sawada was encouraging me to follow his more creative approach, but I think essays should be grounded in facts. I don't think explaining everything away with mysterious forces will cut it. Oh, how about if I plug the holes in Sawada's narrative with political intrigue? Like, I could put a turf war between rival factions at the center of the whole series of events.
Wait, you're allowed to just make stuff up? Pretty sure you've gone from essay to guessay there.
Has this guy ever written an essay before? Yeah, sounds more like a novel.
Akaba, look. Your teacher has researched this extensively. I've reached out to everyone I could think of. Whatever information we have now is all that there is to know. This is as much detail as you're ever going to get. Besides, if there really was a political power struggle going on at anything like the level you seem to be suggesting, what hope would we ever have of finding out the truth?
Good point. Okay, back to the drawing board, I guess. Give me some time. I need to find a new angle on this.
I'll leave you to it.
We have some other stuff to do, so we'll have to say goodbye for now. Good luck with your essay!
All right, thank you. If you find out any more info about all this, please do let me know. Thanks so much.
Hey, so that thing they were talking about, it has to do with the balladeer, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, then even if we did know something about it, we probably couldn't share it with them, huh? After all, we kicked his butt and got him locked up. Information about people like that is usually super confidential, isn't it? If you ask Paimon, Akaba should just pick a different topic. There must be as many essay topics as there are trees in the forest. There's no point in...
What's wrong?
Hey, did you see that? He literally just went by, over there. It looked like... the balladeer! No, it can't have been. He got locked up. Oh, quick, let's catch up and see.
Oh, it's obviously locked up. That run.
Traveler, Paimon, there you are. Nahida! Bad news. We just saw the balladeer strolling around in public. Did he escape or... Ah! It's him!
Sure enough, you're here.
Hey! What are you doing in the sanctuary of Surastana? Aren't you supposed to be locked up? I know you must have a lot of questions. Please, allow me to explain. It was my idea to set the balladeer free. We made a deal, and he's gonna do some investigation in Irminsul for me. A deal? Huh. You sure you trust this guy?
What did you expect? Why do you think Sumeru would keep me around otherwise? Or maybe killing me is all you can think about. But if that's the case, why haven't you done it already?
Don't flatter yourself. It was... Nahida said there's still some mysteries in you to figure out.
Ah, so if it were up to you, you'd finish the job? Guess I had you all wrong. There I was thinking you were just getting cold feet.
Well, that escalated quickly. Not a good start. Could I ask you all to please calm down? But Paimon's worried about you, Nahida. Don't let him trick you.
It's not every day you see people questioning the God of Wisdom's judgment. Just when you think you've seen it all.
Don't you dare try to drive a wedge between us! As long as the terms are reasonable, I don't think there's a problem in making a deal. Even with the balladeer.
Well, I for one have no reason to doubt you, considering you even struck a deal with the doctor.
Yes, one in which I gained valuable information. You'll come to understand more about that in the fullness of time. The balladeer's power was all but completely spent after your battle. He's no longer strong enough to be a strategic threat to us. That puts him in quite a precarious position. Plus, he's a former harbinger with knowledge of many of the Fatui's sensitive secrets. Being stuck here in Sumeru could make him a sitting duck, depending on how the Fatui plan to respond. Wait a second. Farmer? You mean he's not a harbinger anymore? I take no pleasure in saying this, but it seems as if the doctor had no intention of welcoming back a loser, so...
So he tossed you out like trash.
Sometimes it's you using them, other times it's them using you. Most human relationships are this way. Certainly all the stable ones are. That's how it was between me and the Fatui, and also between each of the harbingers. So as long as you have some value to offer, nobody will ever abandon you. But after recent events, even I have to admit that I'm not worth quite what I used to be.
Really? What a crying shame.
Well, if the Fatui are gonna reevaluate my utility, I need to have a backup plan for myself.
As we discussed, I don't like causing harm to living beings, and you said you need protection. So, why not join forces with us?
I think these two have made their objection to that idea fairly clear, don't you? And they're your friends, so I guess you'll be siding with them.
Yeah, obviously! Nahida, don't listen to him! Then let's put that discussion to the side for now. We still have time. Today can be a trial run. Where we go from here will depend on how well we manage to cooperate today.
All right, then I'll do what we agreed.
Good. Go now, and keep in touch. Nahida, are you serious about this? Yes. I have my reasons for this decision. In fact,
I'm largely doing it for your benefit.
For me?
Yes. As I told you once before, there's information about your twin in Irminsul.
Oh, yeah. Actually, that's the whole reason we came to see you today. So, you have an update on that?
Mm-hmm. You may remember me mentioning that the Fatui had not included your twin's details in the Descender category. This is an extremely important point. It's possible that the Fatui have other information that even I don't know about. And since the Balladeer used to be one of them, he'll be better acquainted with this information than I am. He was granted the power to connect with Irminsul when he almost became the god of a new era. Even though he no longer has the Gnosis, some traces of its power remain in him. He can still connect. The amount of information in Irminsul is vast beyond description. Sifting through all of it without knowing what to look for would take too long, even for me. So I asked the Balladeer to search in Irminsul for any information about the Descenders. He's more familiar with this kind of information, and should be able to find it more quickly.
And what if he lies to you?
Exactly! Or what if... Oh, Paimon just doesn't trust him! He's treated us as enemies every time we've run into him!
I understand. But sometimes, everything is dictated by which side you're on. How things will go in the future depends on what information he brings back. And Traveler, I know what your heart desires most of all. Our minds have connected several times before. There is a corner of your heart reserved for an intense longing. A feeling of being all alone in the dark, searching for the one candle whose light still burns. As Sumeru's deity, it is my responsibility to be on guard against the Balladeer. But as someone who counts you as a friend, I want to do something for you. If this deal with the Balladeer can give you the answers you've been longing to find, then it's worth it.
Oh, thank you, Nahida.
It's my pleasure, really. You're Sumeru's hero. You've more than earned it.
Paimon's still worried about this idea. Is there anything we can do to help?
I was going to contact you about that, but then you suddenly showed up on your own accord. Seems like we have a telepathic connection. In fact, I was going to ask you to supervise the Balladeer on my behalf while he carries out the task I assigned. Even though he only has a fraction of his full power left, that's still a fraction of a former Harbinger. If you could accompany him, it would put my mind at ease. Of course, I'll be there to help guide you through Irminsul from the outside.
Got it.
Great. Thank you. Prepare yourselves. I'm going to transport you into Irminsul.
Wow! It looks pretty different here compared to last time. The colors are gentler. Guess that must be because Sumeru's at peace now.
No, I can't open the map.
Look at that. Hot on my heels. You know, you didn't have to cut your catch-up short just to keep me company. Oh, but I guess you panicked when you realized that I might enter Irminsul ahead of you.
Nahida sent me to babysit you.
Shut your beak, jailbird! No way a prisoner gets to be so smug!
I understand that prisoners have to put up with harassment from the guards. But right now, I'm on temporary release. So maybe you should think about backing off a little.
Sounds like a successful rendezvous. I need to be quite clear about something. In a few moments, you'll be entering into the innermost region of Irminsul. It is an environment like no other, and the most important place in all of Sumeru. Unlike anywhere else, Irminsul's inner region consists exclusively of torrents of information. You must put aside your differences and be extremely careful as you navigate your way through. I know there are many grievances between you on both sides, but it is essential that you remain calm after entry. This is as much for your own safety as anything else.
Understood.
Fine. Let's call it truce. But only until this mission's over.
Let's cut each other a little slack, shall we? We are going to be traveling together after all. Per my agreement with Lesser Lord Kusanali, I'll be at the front. It's my job to lead the way and get rid of any obstacles in our path. All you have to do is keep your pretty eyes open and try not to fall behind.
You sure are confident. Paimon will give you that. You make it sound like you're even more experienced at adventuring than us.
If there are no further objections, I suggest we get going. Or did you need some time to mentally prepare yourselves?
Ew! Ugh, the snark on this guy. It's unbearable.
There's no need for all the biting sarcasm.
We can start now.
Irminsul access granted. Initiating connection procedure.
Is this a small sapling? Oh, darn it! Come on, let's catch up with him. Wow! So this is the inside of Irminsul.
It's different than what I imagined.
Ooh, Paimon's never seen anything like this. And it feels like a sacred place.
Irminsul is closely intertwined with the entirety of Teyvat. Every bit of information flowing here means something. Pick your jaws up off the floor. It's time to go.
Why is it that Paimon just wants to do the opposite of everything he says?
Lesser Lord Kusanali, we will now proceed to the heart of Irminsul.
Can you still sense where the heart of Irminsul is?
Yes. Permission to begin searching for information there?
Permission granted. Go ahead.
Let's go. Stay close. Don't go running off.
Hey, so say we did go running off in here. What would happen? What are you smirking at?
I was just imagining the look on your travel companion's face if you went and got lost. Anything's possible in here. You can't rule anything out. So if you want to stay safe, your best option is to stick close to me.
I assume we don't want to touch that. I want to touch it.
Sapling things have spread out.
Fragments have dissipated, so the
Those are all
space.
packets of information from inside Irminsul. Be careful not to touch them.
Looks like we've been transported to another path. I want to touch one.
It looks the same in every direction.
The space is indeed unusual, but the Balladeer seems more used to it than me.
No wonder he mentioned about getting lost. Huh. What do you know? He was actually telling the truth. Is he mocking me again? What is it this time?
There's a time and a place to lie, but this definitely isn't it. So why don't you relax your guard a little? We're here.
What a huge tree!
This is the center of Irminsul. All the information in the road is flowing through it.
Lesser Lord Kusanali,
Good, you made it. Are you ready?
ready when you are.
Then please begin. Preparing to access cognitive currents. Establishing waypoint.
The Balladier's actually doing what Nahida tells him. Guess he must want to stay alive.
He hasn't put up any resistance, and he seems good at working on the front line. Maybe he had a similar role in the Fatui? First the Quaba and Sabata stories, now this. What a strange individual.
The rest is up to you. If you discover anything at all, Make sure to share it with us.
Will do.
Huh. For once, we're the ones with nothing to do.
Traveler, Paimon, would you like to talk?
Nahida? Is this a telepathic conversation?
Yes. I've also invited Paimon to join.
Huh? What the? We can talk to each other inside our heads?
I'm guessing that you don't want us to disturb the Balladeer.
That's part of it. Plus, we're all friends. There's nothing wrong with us talking like this once in a while.
Paimon's never tried this before. This is great! So, Paimon's been wanting to ask you something. Don't you think the Balladeer's a bit of a walking contradiction? He's always talking back, but he seems to listen to what you say.
Yes, and he seems to excel at doing odd jobs for others.
As I've told you before, there are still some mysteries for him to resolve. Things that are clear as day to me, but that he has yet to understand. Perhaps today will be the day that he finds some answers.
Is it about his past, the betrayals, and the other events in Inazuma?
Well done. Smart and attentive as always.
Actually, I caught a glimpse of a few things when I ran into Hypatia at Pardistia. You relate what you saw in Balladeer's mind while in Pardistia.
So, you made contact with that part of his mind. Well, it's true. Betrayal turned the Balladeer into the person he is today.
Huh. Paimon thought nothing could get under that guy's skin. Turns out, he can get hurt and angry just like anyone else.
Everyone has a history, Paimon. Even if you're a puppet created by the Archon.
Speaking of puppets, we ran into two people at the Academia today talking about an essay. Turns out their topic was about the Tatarasuna incident. Nahida, do you know anything about that?
If you mean the mysterious events, the kabuki mono and so on, yes. I know about all of that.
Really? Because from what they were saying, it sounded like lots of Tatarasuna's history is still unexplained. And most of the information we have now is just from people filling the gaps with their imagination. At least that's what they thought.
Tell Nahida about the story they are writing.
Oh? How interesting. Those two managed to deduce quite a lot through guesswork alone.
So the Gesse got it right?
Well, they guessed right about one thing. Tatarasuna was sabotaged.
Must be a riveting conversation you three are having. Funny how all the good ones happen when I'm not involved.
What makes you think we're talking to each other?
Don't insult me. You're having a private conversation without me. Obviously, I must be the topic of said conversation.
We have every right to keep certain things confidential.
Of course you do. You can't have your prisoner knowing too much.
So, have you found anything yet?
Still looking. Don't get your hopes up, though. You and your twin come from outside this world. It wouldn't surprise me if there was nothing on either of you in Irminsul at all.
Wait! How did you know about that? Did Nahida tell you?
It's not like we've never met before. And anyway, you're world famous. It'd be more surprising if I didn't know a few things about you.
Every conversation with you is hard work, but your attitude is better than I thought.
Right now, we have to keep the peace. I'm not interested in creating more misery for myself. And making cordial conversation is something I can manage. Huh? Wait.
This light. It looks similar to those saplings. What could it be?
Anonymous data.
Hey, don't you forget the agreement! You have to share it with us!
Shh. Just wait.
Mr. Niwa, are you certain this is worth the risk? We are talking about Tatara Suna's furnace, after all. It may not pay to act rashly.
There's no one else who can enter the furnace. It has to be me.
Is that so? Well, since you insist.
It's...
That name, Niwa was the man in charge of Tatarasuna. Plus, he belongs to the lineage of the Ishin art.
Whoa!
I have been in Tatarasuna for some time now. You have shown me great hospitality, as has Mikoshi Nagamasa, and indeed, everyone else. Under your leadership, Tatarasuna is a warm, welcoming place. Like a giant village. People are gainfully employed. Their lives have purpose. They are motivated. As I understand, the Raiden Shogun has, in recent years, eliminated much of the evil that plagued Inazuma. As for Tatarasuna, it was originally established as a means of safely disposing crystal marrow. The forging industry with crystal marrow as a raw material has since flourished, giving rise to generations of swordsmiths. Some world-renowned, others unknown, all passing on their legacy. Skills, blood, dreams. Every smith brought into this trade looks to find their purpose between steel and blade. That is why you accepted the proposal brought to you by myself and Akame.
Yes, well, were it not for you coming to Inazuma and happening to make Akame's acquaintance, the two of you never would have joined forces. And he would be the first to admit that there's no way he could have revolutionized our forging process like this on his own. At least not on the same timescale. You allowed Akame to take all the credit for a method that you jointly developed. He sold it to me, and now every piece of ore here is smelted using the new technique. Even now, you remain one of Tatarasuna's key consultants, working right here alongside us. I believe it is you, sir, who are truly responsible for the changes in our manufacturing and forging methods.
You flatter me. From the outset, I saw much that was commendable in the forging industry of Inazuma, and it has been my great honor to befriend you all.
So you say, Escher. But is this really the truth?
My good sir, what do you mean?
I tried to resist thinking it was all connected, because I didn't want to speculate, and I didn't want to believe that things could turn out this way. What have we gained from adopting your new technology? Ominous black smoke? Mounting production problems? Worker fatigue and casualties are up and continuing to rise at an alarming rate. And recently, as you well know, someone died because of that strange filth inside the furnace. We've kept the truth from spreading outside, but still, I suspect you understand it better than I do. None of the people who went out to get help have come back. Now, our mutual friend, the Kabuki Mono, is taking the Golden Feather to Narukami Island to seek an audience with Shogun. This is our last hope. But that doesn't faze you, does it, Escher? Nothing does. Otherwise, why would you still be standing there with that smile on your face?
I'm just surprised that you finally chose to be so sincere. I'm sure you've been harboring these suspicions for quite some time.
Mikoshi Nagamasa may have noticed that there was one common denominator among all these events. Namely you, Escher. But Mr. Mikoshi is more cautious than I. He does things by the book.
After all, Nagamasa is the adopted son of Mikoshi Torachiyo, the yokai struck down by the Shogun's own hand. If he truly seeks to redeem his family's honor, an abundance of caution is well advised.
You're well informed on the subtleties of his situation for a mechanic all the way from Fontaine. Are you sure you're not a little overqualified?
Why, Mr. Niwa, are you suggesting I find a job as a diplomat? Sadly, I am so very attached to my craft.
Enough, Escher. I'm here because an evil force is raging inside the furnace. And someone needs to take your new device inside the high-risk zone so we can absorb it and put an end to the problem. I'm in charge here. And I'm about to take some responsibility and head inside. Probably to my death. But what about you? What are you still doing here?
Judging from the look in your eyes, you don't seem to trust me.
Drop the act! We're past that now. Whoever you are, it looks like your plan to destroy Tatara Suna has worked. I just want to know what you're still doing here. What's left? Don't you have all your answers by now?
Honestly, I'm just waiting for the right moment. A moment like this, where you finish talking and I stop you from entering the furnace.
You...
You're a little smarter than I initially gave you credit for. I thought I'd disguised myself exceptionally well, at least for the first few days. But to my surprise, you had your people look into my background right from the start. It's a long journey from Inazuma to Fontaine, but that didn't stop them. Eventually, they managed to confirm that Escher was an alias, and that I was not from Fontaine at all. And yet, despite all of that, you still fail to realize my true identity, and what I seek in Tatara Suna.
Did you really think you would be able to see through my plan?
If you kill me, there's no one who can get inside the furnace. So you're really going to destroy this place? Is that it?
Oh, but you're quite wrong. There is one other person. Some may not see him as a person, but you told him yourself. You're not a puppet. You're a human. You're just missing a heart.
Whoever you're working for won't get away with this. They'll be found out. But this makes no sense. What are you really trying to accomplish by all this? Why go to all this trouble?
It's no trouble at all. Patience is a virtue which I have in abundance. This is all part of a carefully controlled experiment. If you must know, I'm happy to divulge my true identity. I'm a Fatui Harbinger. Call me the Doctor.
The Fatui? Who? What do you want?
Just to create a minor inconvenience for your nation.
That's it? That's why you gave us your cursed technology? Just to let loose the evil energy from the crystal marrow?
Look how even the righteous soul is filled with venom when faced with its demise. My device functions precisely as you say. It is the only chance you have of preventing a catastrophe and keeping the truth from the outside world. However, I did not make it with you in mind. It is easier for a person to be possessed by evil spirits when they are filled with hate. So give in to your fury. I want to see what happens when a malevolent heart is placed into an unsuspecting puppet. Make no mistake, even without you, that pure, innocent puppet would only end up being used by someone else instead. What other reason would a human have for befriending one who is not of our kind?
If you give him my heart, tell him that both Nagamasa and I see him as one of us. He has nothing to prove to anyone. Because not everyone just wants to use other people. The only ones who think like that are people like you.
What a beautiful way to see the world. It almost makes me feel a little guilty. Then out of respect for you, I shall redefine myself. Think of me as a monster or a demon, if you wish. At least this way your death is not a consequence of your own folly turning you into an easy target. You simply lost to something more powerful than you could ever hope to defeat. I say, Mr. Niwa, let's see what happens. Will your puppet friend become a human? No, that will prove quite impossible. Mr. Niwa? Already dead. What a pity. Jester, I have completed the task you gave me. Creating a gap and infiltrating Inazuma's inner workings. What fun it was. I'd like to introduce a puppet to you. If he proves useful, let's make him our newest comrade. And if not, let's turn him to dust.
Okay. I think I might call this one here. Because it feels like this cutscene's about to go on for a while. So we'll continue this in the next one. If you watched this though, thanks for watching. And I hope you all have wonderful lives. Peace.